Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I am with Tiffany Applegate out of the James Project. And the James Project, if you guys recall, is the official charity that XETA Capital is going to be supporting. We thought this would be just a great opportunity to get her on and really just explain more about herself, as well as the wonderful work about the James Project and what they do, as well as for you guys at home to get involved. Tiffany, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for taking the time. A lot of people are going to go and look up the James Project if they haven't already, but I think people are going to want to know a little bit about you. Would you tell us just a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you came to get involved in the James Project?
Sure. So my background actually, it's kind of complicated. I started out in the business world and I was in the secular world, and I got my undergraduate in marketing, and then I got my master's, my MBA, and I was working in the business field and, doing what people do. And then honestly, my heart got gripped and everything changed and it flipped for me. In 2006, it was actually 2005, I was working in the business world and starting my own consulting company, working for a nonprofit out of DC at the time, and starting my own consulting company. And I was invited to go to Guatemala with somebody I didn't know, which was completely out of character for us to do that. I mean, because we used to manage like every penny down to, we're like, we don't have any money. We got this, we got that. And then some stranger goes, go to Guatemala with us, send us a check for $4,500 and, meet us in Little Rock. And we said, sure. And we went with this idea that we were going to go down there and we were going to honestly be a blessing to these kids who had been through horrible things. And we went down there and it absolutely changed our lives. We realized that everything we had been living for, everything we had been working for was just kind of twisted. And at that point, we started seeing things in just a completely different light. It changed the way our marriage worked. It changed the way we interacted with our kids. It changed the way we spent money. And we really felt like at that time, we're supposed to do something more than just run a business. We're supposed to do something more with our lives than just get a bigger house and get another car and get a boat. We're supposed to do something and we started looking at it, honestly, our big issue at that point, it was like, if you look at your checkbook, you can see where your heart is. And we had a problem with eating out. I don't like to cook, and we were eating out all the time. So we started looking at, we could go eat ribs tonight, or I could save a little kid from wondering who's going to get in bed with him. We could buy a new shirt, or I could provide an education for someone. So it really just flipped everything for us. And honestly, that's when we feel like we started living. My husband and I, it changed everything for us. So we began leading teams down to Guatemala on a regular basis. And in 2012, they asked the founders and directors at that time were about to retire, and they asked if we would consider moving down. So we moved to Guatemala in 2013 and took over as directors.
There's oftentimes in life, we are going in one direction and the Lord gets a hold of us and it's like, you're going in this direction. That's not necessarily wrong, but I have something better for you.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that better for you direction from the Lord was the James Project. A lot of people, now that they know more about you, thanks for sharing, kind of give us the overall summary of James Project. How long have you been doing it? Who do you help? What do you guys do? Just kind of lay it all out for us, if you wouldn't mind.
We started getting involved with James Project in 2006 when we went down on that first trip, and we fell in love and we believed in what they were doing. We moved down to take over as directors in 2013. And what James Project really is it's designed to focus on James 1:27, religion that God our Father considers pure and undefiled as this, caring for orphans and widows in their distress, and keeping oneself pure from this world. And orphans, there are I think it's like 40 million or 140 million orphans in the world. It's a huge amount. And the reality is now it's not just orphans that are parentless. There's a huge there are social orphans everywhere. There are kids that are being abandoned, that are being neglected, that are physically abused, that are sexually abused, that are being trafficked, even by parents, by family. So the orphans that we serve fall under those categories. Clearly, we have true orphans that we take care of as well, but the vast majority of them come to us through the court system because they have been traumatized in a horrible, horrible way. So we have our biggest program under James Project is our children's home. We have 15.5 acres in Monjas, Guatemala. And on that property right now, we have 6, 7, 8, 9 homes, actually 8 homes that are open at the moment. And where one of the things we'll talk about in a little bit with the donation and what you guys are helping with is we're about to open home number 9. And which will allow us to help. We put 12 kids in every home, and they have a mother and a father in that home that are raising them, eating dinner with them, breakfast with them, teaching them life skills, that type of thing. So we have the homes on the property, and that's our biggest program. We also believe in education. We provide a holistic care for these kids and for the women that we serve, and we'll talk about, but we provide education everywhere from preschool through university. We actually today had I just posted something, our very first girl graduated law school today.
Wow,
So
law
she
school.
is an attorney, and she's been working for us for a while because she still
Wow.
loves us and she's been giving back and donating. But we have an attorney on hand now, which is great with
In-house too.
That's right. And she gets it, I mean, she gets what the kids are doing, and she's passionate about fighting for their rights, which is so important. And then we have in addition to the school program, we have our women's program where the United Nations says that Guatemala is one of the worst places in the world for women and children to live.
Wow.
If you look at the statistics, they're horrible. There was a statistic that was published not that long ago. It said 88% of crimes against women and children, including kidnapping, rape, and murder, go unprosecuted. Of the 12% that they actually prosecute, only 4% get justice. So there's no justice. The femicide rate is through the roof. I mean, it's skyrocketing. It's one of the worst in the world. With the pregnancy home, we just opened a teen pregnancy home, and there's only 3 of them in the country. I think there's 3 in the country that are actually have programs specific for them. And it's every hour and a half, a child between the ages of 10 to 14 gives birth to a child that was conceived in rape. And those are the reported cases. But there's a lot of babies that are being had in homes in the mountains that nobody even knows about.
Right, sure.
So the statistics are terrible. So we're working with the women, and they also call it a widow's community, not because the men are dying, though some of them are, because it's a violent country as well. But there's a lot of men that will have babies, they'll pregnate a woman, and then they leave. And they may be coming to the States, they may be going somewhere else, but they leave. So there's women who are left there with no education, because the average level of education is around 2 years, and they have no jobs available to them, and they're trying to raise these kids. So we're going out and wrapping around these women and helping them to get an education. We're helping them to emotionally, some of them have been through huge trauma, so we're providing psychological help for them if they need to meet with a counselor. We're providing parenting classes. We're providing physical support. They may need food or help to pay rent or gas. But then ultimately we're helping them either find a job that is secure, that will help them sustain their family, or we're launching them into their own small business so that they can sustain their family. And then we've started recently with the community. We're working with the churches in the community so that they can actively get involved after the kids leave our presence, or they are women who are in the community, they can begin to work with them. But more importantly, what we're trying to help them do and start programs is to step in before the trauma happens. Because if we can teach them how to reach out to the vulnerable beforehand, and then you stop the abuse, you stop the trafficking, you stop that because you have a loving, caring community around you, it's way better.
Absolutely.
So that's James Project in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. So is that why you call it the James Project? Because of that scripture? And I'll tell you a little interesting story. So my wife and I are doing a Bible study last night, and I said, we were done with 2nd Thessalonians. I said, why don't we just move to James? I love the book of James. I kid you not, we read that exact verse you just quoted. Okay. And I started telling her about the interview I was going to do. And we looked up James Project. And I think we've been looking for like a really good charity to support, a really good organization. And there's a lot of them that are out there, but you don't always get like an inside look behind the scenes at what they're doing. So I think we're really going to probably support your guys' organization, because we've been looking for one. And it's just the fact that you said that, and we read it last night. It's just, I had to share that story.
That's great.
You mentioned something, and you touched on, you have a facility where there are women who are young girls giving or, getting pregnant and giving birth between the ages of 10 and 14. Didn't you recently have a girl give birth at the age of 11? If I'm not
She was
mistaken?
11. She came to us at 11. I think she had just turned 12 when she gave birth. And it's horrific. I mean, if you think about a 12-year-old being pregnant and it's her stepdad,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
violated her, and she's
sure.
there. But what's incredible is absolutely incredible. She loves this baby. I mean, to see her beforehand sitting there, rubbing her stomach, talking about her baby, praying over her baby, thinking about what's going to happen. And then I was there when the baby was born, and I was the first one. I was in there. They let you in the operating room. And because she's so little at 12, they had to do a cesarean. And when they did the cesarean across, she still wasn't big enough to get the baby out. So they had to cut her both directions to get this
Wow.
baby out because she was so little. But this
Wow.
baby came out, and and she's back at the house now, and she loves the baby, and she's learning how to take care of it. And the good thing about our program too is because most of the time, when that happens in that situation, they do have to give up their life. They don't have any education. They're mom full time at that point. But in our facility, and I say our facility, we call it a home. It's not, we're not an institution. In our family, we have somebody who watches the baby after 40 days. In Guatemala, they have to, 40 days, they have to be without anything going on. So they have 40 days where they can't go back to school, they can't go to work, they can't do anything. And then after 40 days, we have somebody who will watch the baby for her so she can continue getting an education. So that baby is getting good nutrition, which down there they believe things like don't eat avocados because it's going to turn your breast milk black.
Oh, wow.
The first 40 days, you can only have chicken broth. The mother can only have chicken broth for 40 days. So that baby normally comes out malnourished, or is being malnourished that whole time because they're drinking breast milk with nothing in it.
Wow.
So they're getting good nutrition. She's able to breastfeed. The baby's getting early education, good nutrition. She's getting an education. She can leave, have breaks during the day, come breastfeed the baby, and still go back and get the education she needs. So she's not having to give up her whole life. And unfortunately, adoption is not a common thing in Guatemala. The country is closed to international adoption because they're not Hague compliant.
Oh,
And culturally in the country, it's just not common. It's still kind of a thing of shame. A lot of times adoption is, so it's just not common. It's something that we're hoping and praying will grow and will become more normal, but it's not part of the culture at this point. So at this point, the best thing for her and that baby in that situation is for her to have a future and learn how to take care of that child so that they can be a healthy family as they grow.
I think that's great because you guys recognize a lot of the problems, and the problem is obviously these people have been affected in a really bad way, but then how do they retranslate back into society?
Mhm.
And that's something that you guys are taking care of. And I think that, providing all of the things they need now is great, but you guys are also looking what they need later as
Yeah.
well. And I think that is really going to be able to transition the people back into society. And, I just love the work you guys do. And I think a lot of people are going to ask, there's a lot of charities that folks give to, and I'm not pointing out any one in particular, but they wonder when they donate, what percentage goes to solving the problem versus paying people, which is part of the solving the problem as well,
Right.
versus marketing and kind of overall operation. Would you mind breaking that down for folks?
Sure. We have, and you can pull up our 990 James Project International and look at it, but less than 5% goes to administrative and marketing costs. So 95% is going to programs.
Wow.
And I will tell you, so the programs, we have staffing under programs because when you have house parents, that's their job, is to care for these kids, to love these
Absolutely.
teachers. So, I mean, there's staff that falls under programs, but they are 100% program related. For administrative and marketing, it's less than 5% goes towards that.
Wow. Wow.
But that's because we're hoping things like this are such a huge help for us because we're not pouring money into marketing. So people who can come alongside us and help us get the word out as to what's happening, that's the best way to share.
Yeah, and that's something I'll say too while we're doing this interview. XETA Capital is going to be helping you guys, right? But it'd be great if the community would come alongside James Project and help as well, right? Because it takes a village and it takes a community to come together to solve these problems along with the Lord's help. So let's come alongside James Project and help them separately from XETA Capital as well. Here's a question. So if you had to kind of summarize the biggest and I'd say the greatest needs for James Project right now, what are those?
I would say right now, our biggest issue has been probably as the same with so many nonprofits right now. COVID has hurt what's happening right now. It's hurt donations.
Sure.
Historically, we would have 20 to 25 teams a year come down and visit what we're doing, which when you have 20 to 25 teams a year, that's exposure to hundreds and thousands, of people that can spread the word, can share, that are passionate about what you're doing. Because when people show up and they see it and they touch it and they're experiencing it, they see that it's real, that there's, that there's something really going on there and the good that's there. We haven't been able to do that now when we're on year 3 of that. So financially, it's beginning to take a toll, and we're in the process. We have a home that's built and we want to fill it with kids. And we have land at Guatemala. One of our Guatemalan board members is in the process of donating land for us because we believe in what we're doing. We've seen the results in it. But our land, we've got 15.5 acres. And we're able to serve basically 3-hour radius because we have court appearances sometimes at 8 a.m. And so we can't leave, we don't want the kids up all night sleeping in a car in the middle of Guatemala City or whatever, that's just, we need to make sure we're taking care of the kids. So we have to limit really 3 to 4 hours from where we are. He's donating land on the other side of the country. We're going to have the ability to build a whole other home on that side of the country, launch programs where there's no home in that area right now. There's no place to serve those children. There's no place that's serving the women on that side of the country and the area that we're going to go to. So being able to have the resources to do that would be huge.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, for anybody watching this, maybe you have some resource. Maybe it's not just money. Maybe it's a talent. Maybe it's a connection. Maybe it's help with construction, or it could be anything really. So, don't count yourself out just because maybe the funds aren't there. Maybe you have some other way of helping. And
some of that is an example of that is there's a guy that here locally in Kansas City who he works for a solar company, and we believe in being as self-sustainable as possible. So we've invested in solar panels. So because energy is so expensive there,
sure,
and growing our own foods and that type of thing. So he's helping to find, helping to connect us with people who may donate solar panels. And we're looking for someone who can help us do importing because we don't have any idea how to import anything without getting taken advantage of through customs. Sure. So there's all kinds of there's doors that can be open that would be huge.
And we have a community of all sorts of backgrounds, I can tell you that. So if any of you guys are listening to this and you think you might have something to help James Project, please get in touch with Tiffany at jamesproject.org and reach out. I think about this, Tiffany, you've probably seen thousands, tens of thousands of women and children at this point, would you say?
Yeah.
Is there a specific story, if you had to and I know it'd probably be hard just to pick one. Is there a specific story that comes to mind when you think of one story that sort of touches you in a different way or really reminds you of the work that you're doing that you would be open to sharing?
There are stories of success that I can share, and there are stories of heartbreak, because the reality is there's a lot of heartbreak when you're dealing with people from trauma. And so if you'll allow me, I'll share both.
Please do.
One of the things we're looking at doing in 2023 also is because we need to change the idea around caring for women and children and what that means. And human trafficking is such a huge issue. It is such a huge issue, and it impacts Guatemala in a huge way. We are looking in 2023 at partnering with a human trafficking resource and training center and doing a national conference in Guatemala.
Wow.
And we've got some big international law enforcement agencies that'll possibly be partnering with us to put that on. What that could do is change, honestly, the heart behind. Our hope is that if we could touch the heart of one judge, of one policeman, of one politician, because there's one story. We had a girl who came to us at 12 and she was being prostituted. Her mom was prostituting her, the neighbors were prostituting her. Everybody knew it. That's why she was with us. When the judge sends them back into that situation, they're like, well, it's her family. She just needs to get used to it.
I see.
And, I mean, and they say things like, well, if they're being prostituted, at least they can enjoy the sex, as if any girl, that's the situation. And it's not. And they send her back home where we know she's being prostituted again. We know that there's things going on, and they won't rescue her because that's just the situation she's put into. So it's things like that where we need to do more. We need to be able to expand and do more in that messaging, because it's heartbreaking when those things happen. It just, you lay awake and you think about this kid that is suffering and just feels so lost, and there's nobody there to save her. A story of success, we actually have one of the women we started working with, and I'm really excited about this, through our Redeemed Women program. We met her to begin with, and she's a widow, and she was in her early 20s, and she had 3 kids. And when we first met her, she had graduated 6th grade. And that's pretty normal. 30% of the people in Guatemala graduate from 6th grade. Only 10% graduate from high school. Her dream was to be able to graduate from high school and be a teacher. That was her dream from the beginning. And we began talking to her. She lives in a rural community, where they get water once a week to the whole community. So you have to collect your water for the week, and there's no electricity at all. So we started working with her in 2018, and the school year there runs from January to November. So I believe she entered her first year of schooling in 2019 because she wanted to be a teacher. So we were sending her back to school, and we found a program that could fast track her through COVID in a town that has no electricity, where you can't go to school. She had to do her homework on her phone, take pictures, walk 5 kilometers to charge her phone,
Wow.
send a message. And through COVID, she graduated junior high and high school with honors. So, and then last September, she was ready to start her own business. She'd already graduated. She wanted to start a tienda in her community, because they have to walk again 5 kilometers to buy eggs or to buy a bag of water or anything. So she thought if she just had some basic things in a tienda in a little store in her community, that would be a good business for her. And that's a great idea. So we started with an investment, I believe, of 200 quetzales, which is it's less than $30. For 1 week, we bought about $30 worth of supplies for the tienda. By January, she was investing over 1,000 Q of her own money every week into that tienda. She had built during this an adobe house for her and her family. She had been able to purchase a solar light so she could charge her phone and keep things running. She began tutoring the other kids in the community so that they could go to school. She began giving out breakfast to all the kids in the community so they would not be hungry when they went to school.
Wow.
She's just done incredible, incredible things, and she's just a testimony. And through that, we've begun inviting a church out. So there's a church that's coming out, a pastor that's coming out about every 2 weeks. People are getting saved. They're getting baptized. It's just exploding, and she's running her business. She's tutoring. She's growing her business. She's putting in electricity. There's a water filtration system that's been put in now. So she's done incredible things, which touching one person has now just spread out and touched so many through just relationship and a small investment.
Yeah. And I think people forget that. They're like, well, it's just one person. It's not just one person, because that person goes on to help other people. And, we are partnering with you guys. And I think, a lot of people in crypto, it's, I hate to say it, there is a very big greed factor in it. And a lot of people do talk about helping the world and using money to help change the world. And you can certainly do that. This is real change. This is the change that these people need. And it's a change that they need in the part of the world that needs it too. Mm-hmm. Come alongside them, guys. And even if it's like, man, maybe you have a church, maybe you're hearing this and thinking my church would love to get involved with this. I don't think there's anything out of bounds here for people wanting to help you guys. Those are 2 very different stories. So thank you for sharing that. That was, it's touching to me personally. But let me ask a question. What does the XETA partnership mean to James Project? And I asked that question because I don't know how many partnerships specifically you guys have. I'm going to take a wild guess and probably say there's not too many crypto partnerships you have,
Nope,
but
I
just
think
kind
you're
of
the
overall,
first.
what exactly. And just like overall, what does the Zeta partnership mean, and how do you guys intend to plan to use the funds, from our donations?
I just want to thank you for your donation. I mean, when I got the notification that you guys were going to donate the $5,000, I mean, it came, just so you know, at a time where I really needed encouragement. I was in Guatemala at the time, and we'd been walking through some tough situations with different things. So it was so encouraging to hear. So I appreciate it so much. It means a lot to us on a variety of ways. I mean, the donation means a lot, and I'll come back to that. But you guys are opening new doors for us. I mean, you are our first crypto partner. This is something brand new for me, something that we're walking into and learning, but it's something that needs to be done. It's where the world is going. It's the direction the world is heading. So you're leading us forward into something new, and then opening doors for us to some new people as well. So, I mean, that means a ton to us. So I'm so grateful for that. And then the donation that you gave is going to allow us to open this new home. I believe that within the next month and a half, we're going to be opening the 9th home, and we're going to have 12 more girls on that property that aren't worrying who's getting in bed with them at night, aren't worrying if they're going to be able to eat, aren't worrying if they're ever going to get to study. And that's because of the donation and the investment you guys are making. So I'm so grateful. Every new child that comes into that house will be a testimony to your giving. So thank you.
Oh, of course. And I mean, this is the change, right? That I think not just businesses, but in this space where there's just so much money flying everywhere. This is the change that I think projects need to start making. And this is just one of those charities that, when you see the work that is being done, when you actually can see the people that it's touching and the people it's impacting and the communities that's impacting. Crypto is a big area with a lot of people and a lot of opinions and a lot of money, but if we can come together and help a charity like this is how we make real change. And we'll see if we can get you guys to accept crypto donations down the road as well. I think that would be a lot easier for people who don't want to deal with fiat as well. Yep. But so just kind of, let's end on this. How can people get more involved? What can they do if they say, yeah, I love the work you guys are doing, I want to jump in? What do they do?
You can do a couple of things. Obviously, go to our website, jamesproject.org, and you can connect with us there. You can connect with me, send me an email, contact me directly. I would love to talk with you. My email is tiffany@jamesproject.org. So I would love to connect with anybody. And we've got ways for you to get involved financially. If you have talents, connections you want to share, if you want to come visit, we can make it happen, because we believe in what we're doing, and we love to show off what God's doing in Guatemala.
That's a perfect way to end. And remember, a lot of people that all things can work for good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And there's a lot of bad things that can happen in the world, right? But there's a lot of things that can be turned around as well. And I think one of the greatest tragedies is when we get blessed, if the blessing ends with us. We should be a conduit to take the blessing and bless other people, serving the Lord by serving his people and doing his work. So I want to thank you, Tiffany, for joining us. Thank you for the time. Everybody, please go to jamesproject.org. This is one of, I'm sure, many conversations we'll have. We love supporting the James Project, and we know you guys will as well. So please check them out. Until next time, thank you, take care, and God bless.